against my better judgment, we brought in a Chevy Express. What's going on, guys? There was in a block back again in the garage with a 2004 or 5 or 6 Chevy Express, I think. It is in need of some paint, as you can see, because most of it's gone off the hood, going off the fenders, and the whole top's gone. So we're actually going to Raptor line this van, which is going to be pretty cool.
Are you sure about that?
Quick walk around. The van's in decent shape. I've got to replace this rocker panel down here. That is mostly gone. So I've got a rocker panel sitting right there. We're gonna take this one out and put the new one in. Pull the front bumper and the rear bumper. It's getting some of those. The move bumper on the front and the rear, Raptor liner in white, and then the bumpers are going back black, grill's black, and the mirror's black. And that's probably going to be it. And that's going to be enough. I'm just going to go ahead and get to work because I got a lot of work to do. Mainly getting all the paint that's left off of this thing off of here, or on here off of here, because it's got the, what they refer to as a Chevy flake, where the paint's just, yeah, flaking off. Yep, you see it. Anyway, so this is an example of the flaking on the van. You can see the paint is just lifting off. I mean, lifting off in large amounts. Literally just peeling off. So this is why you see me using the razor blade and going through and scraping and sanding, because I'm trying to get all this loose paint off of here before we go and prime it, get ready to put the Raptor liner on. So if you do have this kind of stuff on your van or on your vehicle and you're going to Raptor liner, whether it's a truck or car or van, SUV, whatever you've got, be sure to get all this off. Do not spray directly to the primer underneath. You need to scuff it really good and then hit it with epoxy primer. And essentially this is why, because if you don't, your paint is just going to flake off like you see here, and nobody wants flaky paint. Now, I'm going to use this razor blade just to show you how bad it really is. If you didn't think it was bad enough, let me grab some compressed air. Now, this is a poor chemical bond between the primer and the paint. I had this happen on the 67 Chevrolet Malibu between the single stage paint and the clear coat. So I've seen this before. Here's some air, about 120 PSI. So you can see it just blast the paint. So you can see that the air basically blasted a lot of this paint right up off here, just flaked off in some pretty large sheets, as you can see. So I'll take the razor and just work past all the areas that flaked off to get back to probably down to here where the paint's not compromised on the door. And we'll sand all this down with about 80 grit, 180, and then we'll prime the entire van, smooth our transition between the primer and the paint, and then we will get ready to go in and mask everything off and get ready for our Raptor liner. So just a little background on why I'm taking as much time as I'm prepping this thing. Raptor liner sticks really well, but just don't want any problems in the future. So, and I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, I am not going to do another van. This is as much surface area as 2 cars. So it's not something I plan on doing again. This will be a once and done. All right, let's get this rocker replaced so we can get to the next thing. So I had to pause the action on the time lapse, show you guys where we're at with the bumper. Fans going because it's hot. It's super hot, even hotter welding. And I've got on long sleeves, as you may have seen. Yeah, with this much welding, you better wear some protection. That's all I can say. Okay, so got my brackets in the back here. These are for the pod lights. And that's the bumper brackets there. This is the shelf. The bar light or light bar is going to go on, and get ready to do the uprights to hold the light bar in place. I'm going to weld those in there, but before I weld those in, I want to get the light bar out to make sure that it's going to fit. It says it's a 20 half or 20. Yeah, the heat. If you guys are out in the heat, make sure you hydrate. I cannot stress that enough. Stay hydrated. So the light bar is 29.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is set it up here and reposition all this stuff to make sure everything fits before I weld it in. Because once this is welded in, it's time to grind down the welds, prep, and do some Raptor liner. All right, so a little bit of a delay. The customer's light bar is incorrect. It won't work for the bumper. So gotta find something else that's gonna work. I didn't source parts, so just one of those things. Sometimes it just doesn't line up the way you think it will. Anyway, I've got these little Eagle, used to be a coaster. They're gonna be welded into the bumper on the back side. So I've already cut these down, had to do some trimming. You may have saw just a few seconds ago. I'm gonna go ahead and tack these in place, and then once we get the light bar, we'll get back on the bumper and the rest of the van. Man, this has been too much prep work. Pretty sure I gotta prep 2 cars with all the prep work on this van. Or a car and a truck. Anyway, it's all prepped up. The top has been rust killed and taped up because I didn't want to get dust up there. And the exterior is ready for us to start the Raptor liner process. Going to do the black, then I'll come back and do the white. I'm actually not going to mask off the area that I'm doing, or I'm not going to mask off the first section I do black. I have a reason for that. But all the flaking paint has been removed. We're going to go ahead and take care of the mirrors and the wiper cowl and the wiper arms, the lower portion of the van, and those ridiculous bumpers. Yep, I said it. Ridiculous. Things are... I won't make any more move bumpers. I'll just put it that way. Not even for my own truck. That should tell you something. Anyway, got some cool Philadelphia Eagles there. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing primered, and then Raptor liner there, primer here. I'm actually going to prime the lower portion of the van. I'm even going to prime all these plastic pieces, even though I just put a adhesion promoter on there, just to make sure we get a good stick. So that is the plan. I'm going to set the camera up on a tripod. Probably not going to catch all the action. I apologize in advance because I probably need to get something mounted to my head. I'm not gonna be moving the tripod. Not gonna be moving the camera around. It is what it is. I don't have a production crew. It's just me in here making this happen. So you get what you get, and don't throw a fit. And yeah, John, this is for you. So there you go, rosin paper. I put this in another video, and he made the comment, "Do you know what that's called?" Yeah, I did. And at the time, I couldn't remember what it's called, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, rosin paper. So you can get it at Home Depot, Lowe's. Really good for resisting water. They use it in construction stuff all the time. I used it years ago and did construction stuff all the time. But anyway, there it is. Got all the glass taped up, windshield taped up, and I'll tape the top once I get ready to shoot the top of the van and the white and everything else. But for now, just protecting it so I can take care of the black. All right, enough yakking. It's 2 minutes of talking, which is too much because I got too much work to do. I got to get rolling so I can get this thing out of here. On to somebody else's garage. Yeah, flashing out, looks good. No complaints really. Raptor liner is probably the easiest portion of this whole job.
Are you sure about that?
Prep work is where everything was at. So we got everything black done. Yep, that all blacked out. Now what I'm gonna do is come back after this is hardened up. After 24 hours, I'll tape all this off and then scuff everything up top. Then we'll prime everything up top, 2 coats of epoxy primer, and then we'll come in and put our white Raptor liner on the top, which is basically from that black line all the way up to the roof. It's gonna be a couple days for me, but you guys, in the blink of an eye, it'll be time to prime and Raptor line. Bam, just like that, we are prepped for primer and Raptor liner. Quick walk around. Oh, I still have to uncover the top. Well, crud, I thought we were almost ready for primer and Raptor liner. Anyway, let's see. Went ahead and taped up the whole bottom of the van. We're gonna do our two-tone that. Added paper on this side. I think I got plastic on the other side. Got the back windows taped up. Got the license plate thing taped up. Yep, plastic on this side, paper on the other side. This tape's doing okay. It's not sticking the greatest. It's really hard to find a tape that sticks well on your Raptor liner. I'll just go ahead and say that. Yeah, not easy to find a tape that sticks well without going super over budget with like some crazy 3M stuff. Now, originally, this truck was not supposed to be two-toned. Truck, van, whatever. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, this van was not supposed to be two-toned. It was supposed to be all white with black bumpers, and then there was a change after the fact. If I would have known it was going to be two-tone, I would have said no, because this stuff can be a pain to mask off. Now, if you guys know something about, you know, some way, some tape, other than like duct tape or something like that that's real sticky that goes on here that sticks well enough to hold in place and doesn't leave residue when you remove it, I'm all ears. You can see right there, it's lifted up again. So I'll have to mash all this down, prime it. Don't worry, I'm not bleeding. I have to prime it and then go back and probably check the tape again before I Raptor line it, but whatever. I gotta get this done. So aside from that, nothing too bad. I need to go ahead and uncover the top. So I'm gonna uncover the top and tape up the top of this windshield across there. That'll be the last thing. My primer's ready. Had it on the mixer earlier. We're gonna be using this awesome T-Rex epoxy primer. I'm going to be using white for the body. I use gray for the lower portion, and I'm using white because the van's white, and yeah, that's why I'm using white. So if you had any questions, that's why. With that said, I am going to go ahead and take care of finishing these top things, and when I turn the camera back on, it'll be time for primer. Finish result of the Raptor liner. Yeah. Looking cool. Looks good. It's still drying out. It's got a little bit more drying to do. So if you see the discoloration in the color, that's why it's not fully dried out. Takes a few hours for this stuff to dry. They claim about 24 hours, but it definitely takes a few hours to dry. But all in all, turned out pretty good. Here's the top. Still drying too. Here's the back. So we'll let this dry up and then we'll put the move bumpers back on, the grill back on, mirrors, back trim pieces, and the windows back in. And it's time for this thing to get out of here. This thing just won't go away. All right, we got the van rewrapped again, and we're getting ready to paint over top of this Raptor liner because the owner is not happy with the finish because it's Raptor liner and it's streaky and it's not even because it's not paint. I will never do another van again. I'll just go ahead and say that. So anyway, got the van in here. Obviously you see us all masked off and taped up again, which I really hate to do because I already had to two-tone this thing, which I didn't want to do in the first place, which requires more taping and more masking and more hours. So just to give you guys an idea, this is 3 hours to mask up this van. And I may have some guys on there, oh, it should only take 30 minutes. Yeah, good luck. Good luck. It's a lot to cover up. A lot more when you have to go back and remask everything that you see in white so you can spray the black. So, yeah. Anyway, now that my little rant's over with, we're going to paint this thing over top of the Raptor liner, and you can see it's kind of flat looking, and that's because I've gone and prepped the entire van again. I'm not going to talk about the amount of hours that it took to prep this van. Pretty much, I'm working for free at this point, and I don't ever like working for free, which is one of the reasons I'm not going to do any more vans, because they're massive, and realistically, like, to paint a van, if you want it to look good, my definition of good, this is like 120 hours of prep work because there were rust issues and there was this issue and I had to replace doors and all that kind of stuff. So if you do 120 hours and you guys know times, we'll say $100. How many dollars is that? That's right. That many dollars. Nobody's going to pay that for a van, which is why I'm not doing vans. This van was an exception because one, it's an all-wheel drive express van, and yeah, can't say I've seen many of those. So, yeah, I guess if I was going to do one, this would have to be the one. And it has been a nightmare. I'm not even going to mince words. It's been a complete pain in the butt. I'm glad we're almost done. So anyway, I've got some Chapeline Plus in the GM Olympic White. We're going to paint this van, and then I'm getting out of here, which, honestly, I will not Raptor line another driving billboard ever again. So I'm going to stop here to take a second and talk about the Raptor liner versus Rhino liner. So Rhino liner is applied with a much different process, so you get a much different result. And typically you will have a much smoother result and a more consistent finish in the color as well as the finish itself. The Rhino liner is applied at 220 degrees Fahrenheit and 2200 PSI, typically in an 8 to 14 inch fan. So you definitely get a more consistent finish than what we see here with the U-pole gun, which uses a small orifice and kind of spits the material out in a round circle as opposed to a fan pattern. So with the difference in the pattern application, you will see more inconsistencies, especially when you get to a big flat surface like the side of a van. Basically, it's like painting the side of a building with a spray gun that has a round circle pattern that's about 2 to 4 inches in diameter. So that's the biggest difference here. It's not as noticeable with black because black absorbs all colors, whereas white reflects all colors, and that's what you see here with the lights going on and off. You can see the inconsistency in the application of the texture to the van. And I usually don't fuss about much stuff, but this should have been a really simple process. In fact, I spent more time up until now working on both the move bumpers than I did working on this van as a whole. But now the table, of course, is turned, and those bumpers took way too many hours, and this van itself is just taking way too many hours. I mean, if this was actually done at cost, yeah, we're talking like $15,000 to get this van done. That's bumpers, everything sprayed, and the wiring and lighting stuff that I got to continue to do. So the guy who's getting this van is getting one heck of a deal. Anyway, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead. I got the paint sitting on the bench. I think it's mixed up and ready to go. We're gonna throw it in the gun. We're gonna be using the golden gun this time. Yep, right there, the golden gun. I don't know. We'll call this 007. Yep, we're gonna be using 007 for this application. That's what we're using right there, the Olympic white. Let's get this thing even. Shouldn't take too long. I guess I'll set you guys up on the tripod somewhere. I need to find one. Then we'll get this thing sprayed. So the billboard's painted again. Came up more consistent this time, at least from what I can tell. If you look real close, the camera may pick up a few streaks in there. So we'll see what it looks like outside. Those streaks, of course, were not from me painting. It's from the application of the Raptor liner gun, putting the texture out. As you saw, I was painting across the entire panel in one pass. So with the Raptor liner gun, I did the same thing. And then Raptor liner suggested you back off and you take the gun and you just make random passes kind of to even everything out. And that's what you sometimes end up with, what you see or what you saw before where you had inconsistency there. Other than that, van looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Came out good on that side. Hood's nice and even. Top looks good. Well, I'm just gonna cure up and then we'll get to wiring, which I wasn't gonna wire this thing. I didn't want to wire this thing. I want it to be gone, but it's not. So we're gonna wire it. Yay. Here is the result of the new rocker panel. You can see we got that installed before we took care of the Raptor liner. Came out really nice. And we'll take a quick look at the lighting controller from AuX Beam. So the backup lights are the rear cubes, the front cubes, and the fog lights are the lights with the Philadelphia Eagle logo. The AuX light is the bow tie, which is RGB, and the light bar is also an RGB. That AuX battery power, I'll show you where that goes. Back here in the back of the van. And that comes to this power distribution panel right here. So you can add an additional 6 circuits of lighting for the inside of the van. gonna wrap it up for the video series on the Chevy Express van. Got the two-tone look going, got all his lights working with the auxiliary light controller. I think there's AuX Beam and several other companies that have those available online. You can get them on Amazon or eBay. Pretty cool addition there, and then added the additional circuits to the back of the van so that way he can use it for camping or overlanding or whatever he's planning on doing. My name's Erwin. This is Thrills in a Block. We're giving back what time is taken away. We'll see you soon.